hope you are doing great. A warm welcome to Class 11. My name is Kalpana Pradhan and I will be teaching you political science. So let's start from chapter number 1. This chapter number 1, this is divided into two sections, students. This is divided into section 1 and section 2. In section 1, we will be discussing about the meaning of political science, the nature, origin, the view of the scholars, and what are political institutions. Okay, we'll be discussing about that one. The 5 dimensions, okay, we'll be discussing that one in these chapters. And in another section, we'll be discussing about, that is in section 2, we'll be discussing about the concepts, that is the fundamental concepts of the state. What are states? What are the elements of the states? So without wasting any time, so let's start. So I will be starting with the introduction to political theory. Okay. So at this stage, students, political science is a very new subject for you. Okay. So you need to understand. Okay. Before starting this introduction to political theory, you need to understand what do you mean by political science first. Okay. So let's start with the origin of the political science. Okay. So the term political science is related to the term politics. Okay, as politics is derived from the Greek word polis, meaning city, states. Okay, so politics is derived from the Greek word called polis, students. Okay, and it means city, states. Okay, so now Greek city states have also given us the father of political science. Okay, and he is one of the famous political philosopher, and his name was Aristotle. I hope you have heard this name of Aristotle, right? So Aristotle was born in 385 BC to 323 BC. Okay, so he was known as the father of political science. Okay, so as he was a very famous philosopher. Okay, and he is known as the father of the political science. So like Aristotle, we have Manu. I hope you have heard about Manusmriti, students. Okay, it is the first book on Indian politics. Okay, I hope you have heard about this one in your history. Okay, subject. So Manusmriti is the first book on Indian politics. And it was written by a person named Manu. Okay, and he was considered to be the first political thinker of India. Okay, so after Manu, we have Chanakya. I hope you have heard this name, Chanakya or Kautilya, right, in history. So Chanakya or Kautilya, he was born in 371 BC and died in 283 BC. Okay, so he formed and formulated the Indian political thinking. Okay, so he gave it a concrete form in the shape of a book named Kautilya Arthasastra. I hope you have heard this word Arthasastra, right? So a famous book on the Indian polity. Okay, so according to the Greek philosophers, politics is a subject which deal with and all the activities and affairs of the city-states. Therefore, the city-states were known as polis, P-O-L-I-S, polish. Okay. So basically, according to the Greek philosopher, students, all the activities related to the society and state, such as affairs of the state, which may be a political or which may be economical or as well as social in nature, okay, were all directly it linked to the states. Therefore, these city-states were known as polis. Okay, I hope it's clear the origin of political science. Okay, now next let us understand what we mean by political science. Okay, what do we mean by political institutions? What do we mean by politics? And what do political scientists do? And let us try to understand a brief of political theory. Okay, so political science, actually, students, it is a social science of disciplines like history, economics, and sociology. Political science is that part of social science which deals with the foundation of the state and the principles of the government. Okay, so basically, in a broader prospect, political science is such a subject which talks about the foundation of the state. Okay, it talks about how the state has been formed. It talks about what are the nature of the state, what are the reasons to form a state, how people by and large has decided to put together and make a state. Okay, to make a state, and other different principles of the government. Okay, so in a simple manner, okay, it also came to be defined as the science of state and government. It was also considered synonymous with the term called political theory, which was taken to mean the theory of the state and government. So political science, okay, it's like other social science disciplines. It overlaps with the other disciplines like economics, sociology, history, law, anthropology, public administration, international relations, comparative politics, and psychology, etc. So we can also say that political science, it is as a discipline, is as old as humanity itself. Okay, it has ancient roots, but political science as an academic discipline, it had established in 19th century, although it was originated from the very beginning about 2500 years ago, with the two famous philosophers named Plato and Aristotle. Okay, I've already told you about Aristotle. Aristotle was the father of political science. Okay, now basically we can also say that political science, it is the study, in a more simpler manner, we can say that political science is the study of the relations between a state and a citizens, and between a government and a citizens. I hope the meaning is very, very clear of political science. Okay, so let us try to understand what do we mean by the political science with the simple definitions. Okay, let's try to understand with the definition. Okay, so according to Garner, okay, he says that political science begins and ends with the state. Okay, so what does this definition mean, students? It means that he believed, that means J.W. Garner, he believes when we talk about politics or political science, it all begins and eventually it ends with the state. Then in between, whatever happens, all the affairs of the state is basically as the study of the political science. Okay, so this is number one, definitions of Garner. Number two, according to Gettle, he says that politics is the study of the past, present, and future. Okay, so Gettle gives us a very broader perspectives of politics. He says like how the state has formed, what was the history of the state, what are the different institutions that had played a role to bring about the consensus in building the state. Okay, and present, what is the structures of the state. Okay, today people are living in a state where the people basic necessities are fulfilling or not. Okay, and definitely he talks about the future. He says that politics is the study of the future. He says that how state and society are involved to meet the challenges which will come up in the future. Okay, so this is the certain definitions. Besides of that, there are other definitions such as political science is defined as the branch of knowledge that deals with the state and the systems of the government. It is the scientific analysis of political activities and the behavior. Okay, so political science is an academic discipline, that is the people study it academically. Students do research in political science, which is concerned with the empirical study of politics and government, or in a more simple manner we can say that it is the study of the political institutions or a political system. So it has been defined by one of the great philosophers, and his name was Aristotle, and Aristotle defined political science as the study of the state. Okay, I hope this definition is clear Okay, now let us discuss the nature of political science. Okay, so politics is not only a mere institution of the governance, but also a mechanism for achieving a societal goals. So political science is thus, it is a study in the past, present and future. It is also a study of political organization, political process and political functions. Okay, so political science is also the study of the political institutions and political theories. Besides this, political science can also cover other various sub-dimensions or subfields such as political theories, which we will be discussing over here, okay, in brief, and public policies, national politics, international relations, okay, environmental politics and comparative politics. Comparative politics, it means it mostly comprises the study of the various constitutions across the countries. Okay, so now let's discuss the nature. There are two different views on the nature of the political science. Number one is politics or political science is a science, and next one is your political science is not a science. So first, let us see that politics is a science. Number one, politics can be studied in a systematic manner. Okay, number one point is your politics can be studied in a systematic manner. And number two is, it is said that experimentation is possible in politics. Okay, and number two is, political science, like other science, has absolute and universal laws. Okay, and next one, that is number four, is it is possible to make predictions in politics. Okay, so these are the four important aspects which defined or put forward that political science is a science. Now let's see that political science or politics is not a science. Number one point, politics has no absolute and universal laws like physical science or exact science. Number two, it does not observe the theory of causes and effect, which is the basis of all sciences. Okay, number three, the subject of politics has not developed in steady, regular and continuous manner. Okay, and next one is your scientific methods of observation and experimentation cannot be applied to the politics. Okay, so these are the another four important aspects which defined or put forward that political science is not a science. Okay, so this is the nature of political science. Okay, now let us discuss about the views of the different scholars. Okay, let us discuss the different scholars. They have interpreted political science or politics in a different manner. So let us look at it. Therefore, to understand the two different interpretations of a word, we have to understand from the traditional and as well as the modern view of the perspectives. Okay, so what is the traditional view of perspective to understand the meaning of political science? According to the traditional political scientist, as it deals with the study of the state or a government or the other related institutions. Okay, institutions such as all those institutions which are either supporting or contributing to build a state in a way very comfortable. So let's say about the state, government and the institutions. Okay, so now let us look at the definitions that has been given by Silly. Okay, he says that political science investigates the phenomenon of the government. Okay, so it says that the way political economy deals with the wealth. Okay, so biology, it deals with the life. Okay, similarly political science also deals with the various phenomenon of politics, students. Now when we talk about government, okay, when we talk about government, it is totally been controlled by the group of people, right, or by the individual or by the political ideologies, right? So next one is the definitions given by Leacock. Leacock says that political science deals with the government. So according to the traditional views, the main subject of the study of political science is the study of the state and the government. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now next one is your modern view. So politics and political science, it started with the associations of power in modern view. Okay, the scholars such as George Catlin, Max Weber, Almond and Powell, they have given attention and focus on the study of power. Okay, now let us look at the definitions given by the Robson. So Robson says that political science centers on the struggle to gain and retain a power or influence over others. So it means that basically Robson speaks about, when we talked about political science, he centers around the struggle to gain power, to retain that power, and to exercise that power or influence over others. Okay, now next definitions is given by Max Weber. He says that politics is the struggle for power or the influence of those in power. Okay, so it says that politics is all about the struggle for power, and once you have that power, you can influence others by using that power. Okay, so these are the modern view of the scholars. So therefore the study of the politics, it include the study of power such as the influence, authority, okay, such as political institutions and all. So therefore we can say that traditional perspectives, okay, the traditional in a traditional perspective, they have given importance about the state, they have given importance to the state, they have given importance to the government. Okay, whereas the modern perspective, when we look at it, the modern perspective or in the view, they have given importance to the power. Okay, so these are the view of the different scholars. Okay, now let's study about what do political scientists do. Okay, so political scientists, they investigate the nature of the states, the functions that has been performed by the government, voters' behavior, the political parties and their ideologies, the political cultures and the public opinion. As we can also say that political scientists, they study the origin, they study the development and operations of political systems, and they do research in the political ideas and analyze the government, their policies, the political trends and other related issue. Okay, now next one is, let us discuss about the political philosophy. Okay, so political philosophy, students, it is the study of fundamental questions about the state, about the government, about the politics, about the liberty, justice, okay, and the enforcement of a legal court by authority. It is the ethics applied to a group of people and discusses how a society should be set up and how one should act within a society. Individual rights such as the right to life, such as the right to liberty, property, the pursuit of happiness, free speech, self-defense, etc. state explicitly the requirements for a person to benefit rather than suffer from living in a society. Okay, so as political philosophy, they attempt to provide the answers to some of the questions which has been raised by the political scientists. Okay, so they mostly ask the question like, what is the philosophy of the state, what the state should be, what should the state do, what should be the relation between the individual and the state, what is the most suitable political arrangement for a given society, is there a best form of government which every human society should strive for it? If yes, what is it? What values or principles should inspire a political leader? How should politics contribute to the progress of humanity? Okay, so such kind of questions has been raised by the political scientist. So as political philosophy has its roots in ethics, I've already told you before, that is in question of as of what kind of life is good for a human being, since we see that people by nature is very, very sociable, okay, as we live in a society, students. So it's question what kind of life is appropriate or proper for a person amongst other people, okay, or within a group. For example, according to ancient Greek perspective, the question for the most appropriate structure of the state is the ultimate philosophical goal. So it mostly explores the question that what is the good governance for the people. Okay, now let us discuss about what do we mean by political institution. Okay, so as political institutions are the organization which is charged with the creations, its enforcement and applications of the government laws. The institutions are intended to mediate during conflict and formulate the governmental policies. Okay, so political system is a complete set of institutions which includes interest groups, political parties such as trade unions, okay, interest groups such as political parties, we can say trade unions, okay, which actually put forward the interest of certain set of people in a society. So it studies the relationship between these institutions and the political norms and the rules that govern the functions of these institutions, like elections, okay, as it is held around a certain set of rules and regulations. And another way is your constitution. So another way of defining laws, okay, and rules and regulations of the society or legal procedures, okay. So it is composed of members of a social organizations who are in power, okay. So the group who holds the power in society. Remember, the modern thinkers, they mostly talk about the powers. Okay, so it ensures order and stability in society and guarantees security from the members of the given for the members of the society. Okay, now excuse me, now you may ask why we need to study political institutions or why we need to study the political system. Okay, so now let us try to understand it in a very, very proper perspective, as we know that man is a social animal, right? So Aristotle also said that man is a social animal, as he cannot live in isolation, okay, as he lives in a group, okay, as they maintain a relationship with other human beings or other individuals. Okay, so human beings are very, very different from the other species or from other living beings or animals. Okay, firstly, we can differentiate the human beings from the other species. Firstly, they have the capacity to use the language and communicate with each other, right? So secondly, they possess the reason and the ability to reflect on their actions. It means that human beings, they have the capability to think what is right or what is wrong. So as they can express the desire, the inner thoughts, and they can share their experiences as well. This is how human beings are different from the other species or from the other living beings. Okay, so political science, so having a roots in this all these abilities, students, political scientists, they have attempted to study how human beings can organize themselves in social groups and govern this organization. Okay, so it looks into who on what basis govern and how the society can be governed effectively. Okay, and now political theory, okay, it is a sub-dimensions, as we are discussing about the introductions of the political theory. Okay, so political theory as the sub dimension of political science, it attempts or try to analyze some basic questions, the questions such as how society should be organized, the questions such as why do we need a government, what is the role of the government, what should be the role of the ruler, how should we choose the ruler, what is the best form of government. Okay, so does law limit or hinder liberty, what does the state owe to the citizens? So such kind of questions. Okay, so political theory, it systematically, students, it examines the questions, okay, and values that guide and inform political life in general, and as well as the social life at the broader perspective or with the broader level. Okay, so this mostly studies values such as values like freedom, values like equality, values like justice, and it studies how this concept of values are defined and how they are brought into practice in everyday life. Okay, so it also attempts to study how we can modify these definitions and make them more democratic in nature. Okay, so we'll be studying this with a number of concepts relating to the political theory. So let us begin with the politics. Okay, so what is politics? You might have come across with this word in several number of times in your life, right? So for a political leader, for instance, let's say, or for those who contest an election, politics is a kind of a public service or an engagement, right? So some people use the word politics, okay, to refer to manipulation being done by somebody to satisfy his or her personal interest. Whenever we see people in different walks of life trying to promote their national interest by any possible means, we tend to say they are playing politics, isn't it? So another way of understanding politics is to say what politicians do. Political leaders at the time break away or defeat from parties. They make false promises during elections to seek votes. They manipulate wishes of the people for the personal interest at times. They even come down to the level of committing crimes to fulfilling their interests. Yes. Okay, so with what actually we should understand by the term politics, that means, do you think it is a bad for the society? Okay, so let's try to understand the actual meaning of politics. So as individual is a part of the society, and he is a part of a number of institutions like families, tribes, economic institutions, and professional groups, caste and communities. Okay, so what do these institutions do? This institution, they brings an order in the lives of the individual. Among all these institutions, such as political institutions, plays a very, very important role. For example, what kind of policies are there that influence in our life? Such as the government determines the nature of the economic and social policies, such as foreign policies, educational policies and all. Okay, so these policies, it totally influence our life, students, since these policies are decided by the government. Yes, but we people also show the great interest and concern in the formations of the government, right? So whom should we trust with power then, students, to decide about our lives and future in democracy? So this has been done, what we do, through voting. This has been done through voting, by contesting or by casting a vote. Okay, so we also form an association or organize a campaign to express our demands. So people pressurize the government to take care of their interest or change the existing laws that affects the lives at times adversely also. Okay, so in briefly we can say that politics involves a wave of negotiations that happen in society through which collective decisions are taken. If it in one hand, it involves what government should do and how do they help the people to achieve their aspirations. Okay, now students, let us do the summary of the chapter, what we have studied. So we have studied about the nature, right? We have studied about the nature, meaning of political science. We have studied about the origin of political science. We have studied about the various view of the various scholars, right? And we have studied about what are political institutions. We have studied about what are political philosophy, what is politics, and a brief about a political theory. And we have studied about what do political scientists do. Okay, and in next class I will be discussing about the political theory in detail. Okay, so thank you, students.